In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, Season 4. Let's go, baby. Yeah. There was a time I had trouble talking about it. Congratulate them, we know they doubted. Somehow we made it up out the pit, back against the wall, never quit. Traversing through each obstacle, show a non-believer what's possible. Let nothing they could do stand in between me and my wildest dreams. Let's go. And that come at us could come in between. Life gave me the worst, yet my side grew so green. We've been down in the dirt, been tossed in the trash, but I never stray from my path. When we're gone, we ain't looking back.
Maybe we were all way too high. Maybe that's our fault.
It's going to be a crazy time, but it's going to be a fun time.
Life is boring if you don't take some chances and do some things outside the box.
Your destination for both some feel-good lifestyle advice and some fantasy football advice.
All right. The fantasy football season rolls on after a stupendous and frisky week 6 of the NFL season. It is Tuesday, October 19th. Seth Woolcock, me, back here with you, joined by the fellas to bring you feel-good vibes and some future award-winning advice. We haven't won them yet, but the awards are coming. And to help us win those awards are our good friends, Nate Polvo. He's a real estate agent, an analyst, a father, a husband, and as his wife says, is incredibly handsome as well. And we also have Scott Rainier in the building. He's a construction manager by day, a father at the same time, but a spreadsheet genie at night, making all those fantasy football wishes come true. Boys, how are we feeling? Are you feeling better than me coming into Tuesday? I'm coming off a fantasy football loss, a Penn State loss, my favorite NASCAR driver losing. So all around bad weekend. The vibes are high for me. Are they high for you as well, Scott?
Dude, I'm pumped. And that might seem inaccurate since I sat and watched 18 innings in the stadium, watched my Mariners season end. But I had my best fantasy season by far. Best fantasy week by far this week. My teams with Jermichael Hasty and Rashid Shaheed and Braxton Berrios killed it.
There we go.
And it's supposed to rain in Seattle in a couple days for the first time in, 3 months. So, things are good right now. Things are good. I'm pumped.
The drought is over for Scott. Nate, how are we doing out there in crispy Colorado?
Well, it's cold, so that's a thumbs down. You might notice from the banners behind me, I am a Broncos fan, so thumbs down because that's just a mess. Jackson has a 4-day weekend coming up. More thumbs down around here, but I'd kid. We're stoked to have Jackson for a long weekend. It's a great week. I'm stuffing all my work into 3 days, which is a challenge, but it can be done.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Get on those Red Bulls. Get on that Joe, whatever you guys need. And lock in with us tonight as well, because we are locked and loaded for an incredible show. We have front and center on the show. What's the deal with Cam Akers in Los Angeles? Robbie Anderson, he's now a Cardinal. What's up with that? We're going to tell you that. Temperature check. We're going to tell you who you should be buying and selling here at this point in the season. This is the point where you win and lose leagues by trading. So we're going to give you our best advice heading into week 7. And then in the scope, waivers, free agent fines. We've been hot lately, boys. We've been getting these free agents way before they're the top waiver ads. We got a couple this week that we'll talk about that we highlighted last week who are going for high market price. And we're going to set people up for next week as well. And then we're going to round it out with a fall would you rather. A little fantasy football in there as well. But just, poking fun at the fall season, the highs, the lows, and you guessed it, everything in between, guys. We got Albert back in the chat already. What's up, Albert? Good to see you here this afternoon. Saw him earlier on a show, so good to see Albert. If you guys are new to the In Between Media YouTube channel and you want to hang around with us, subscribe. Please ask some questions as well. Leave us a review. Whatever you guys want to do, it goes a long, long way here, so we greatly appreciate it. But, fellas, let's go ahead and jump into the meat of this show with front and center after an awesome little drop here from a guy, Nate Miller.
Sometimes taking that first step out the door is the hardest thing to do. Give it a chance, you'll be begging for more. Save the spot just for you. We're all somewhere in between. I've got you
come to the place we can have some fun. Ain't gotta worry about knowing not what it means. People come and give me another, cause the night is young. At least I so thought.
This just in. Breaking news. Front and center.
Front and center breaking news, guys. Let's start with what hit us, Nate, not too long after we were off our podcast on Friday, of course. Cam Akers, a healthy scratch following a disagreement with Coach Sean McVay. Man, the Cam Akers saga, it continues to add chapters that we were not expecting here, Nate. Now we're hearing that there may be some type of trade in the works. He might get cut. We're not really sure. Darrell Henderson, he came out here in week 6 with the backfield to himself, provided serviceable numbers for fantasy managers. First of all, what is your take on the whole Cam Akers situation? It's just bizarre at this point.
Well, look, it's going to be hard to trade him because he hasn't been productive. He's got 0, 8, 11, 1, and 4 fantasy point outputs this season. He's on the field max 50% of snaps, but that was only one game. So that's the best he's done. He hasn't showed enough. Who's going to – the 7th round pick? Is that what we're looking at in a trade? I mean, it can't be much more than that. I feel like he ends up getting released.
Yep.
I think this is a Deontay Foreman situation. I think in 3 years, maybe his name comes up as a reliable backup that can fill in for an injured star running back.
So you're calling it quits with Cam Akers. You think he's going to be irrelevant here maybe the rest of the way through. Scott, do you feel any better about it?
No. Personally, I'm not calling it quits because I never called it starts with him. He was one of my major fades all offseason. I wasn't like, oh, hey, in week 6, I think he's going to be a healthy scratch because of some disagreements with the team. That's not why. I just don't think he's that great of a running back right now coming off that injury. I don't think that the Rams have a very good running offense right now, very good offensive line. Their offense in general is just kind of out of sync. I mean, as far as like what's actually going on in Los Angeles, I have no idea. It started off as, he's going to take some time off for personal reasons. So then all the tweets started flooding in. Oh, I hope you make it through whatever this is. Right. But now it seems like it's not that. So I have no idea what's going to happen. All I know is I'm not touching him, and if I were another NFL team, I wouldn't either. Unless like Nate said, I mean, maybe a really late draft pick, but yeah, I think he ends up getting released.
Do we hold on to Cam Akers in fantasy leagues if you have him on your roster, or is it okay to cut him? I think that's the golden question here, Scott.
I mean, I would probably, if there's a waiver ad that is, a smash home run, and he's the only option to drop, sure. But I would probably want to see what unfolds here first, because it's so murky right now. What's going to happen? I mean, it could be a little, much ado about nothing potentially. I don't know.
Right.
Where if he goes somewhere else, if he stays with the Rams, I'm not excited about him, but we got a comment kicking at the lake house, cut him. I mean, probably. I try not to be as hasty. But like I said, I don't personally have this particular problem on any of my teams. So
if you need a play though, it sounds like, we can move on. But I think it's just hard to imagine where he's going to end up in the NFL, that he could be in a better position or even a usable fantasy position than he is right now. Maybe he goes to the Chargers and backs up Austin Eckler. Baltimore, they have some injuries in the RB room here with J.K. Dobbins. However, we're not exactly sure. Gus Bus, he should be firing up soon. So it's just very murky waters. We got Denise in the chat, as you said, Scott. She's saying you can go ahead and cut him. Good to see her tonight. Always good to see her on the YouTube here. But yeah, I it's a murky situation with Cam Akers. But Nate, it sounds like final verdict here, unless you disagree, is keep Cam Akers stash if you can. But if you need a play this week and he has to go, he has to go. Muted, Nate.
I agree. If there's a better player out there, you're obviously going to take him. At this point, almost anybody that you can get as a stash on waivers is going to be better than Cam Akers. So,
well, and the other thing we have this week is our first fairly major bye week, which I always know they're coming, but then I go look at my rosters and I'm like, oh, good God. So I mean that's another thing to factor in redraft. I mean, especially if you're sitting and you need a win. If you're trying to come back from a slow start, like I am in a bunch of leagues, then yeah, I mean, he's a roster clogger right now.
All right, let's move forward here. Hollywood Brown, he suffers a serious injury. However, Robbie Anderson is now on his way to the Cardinals. And also DeAndre Hopkins, he's going to be returning from that PD suspension. So, boys, what do we make of this Cardinals receiving core moving forward? Kind of the Cardinals in general. They've been a mess. Zach Ertz has kind of held down the fort with Hollywood. Hollywood now, we don't know if it's season ending quite yet, but he is expected to miss quite a bit of time here. Is there value here with DeAndre Hopkins? Is there value with Robbie Anderson? Scott, I want to start with you on Hopkins. What do you see for his outlook?
I mean, his outlook is better than it was at this point. I mean, he's coming back, he's coming off a suspension. So this isn't about coming back from an injury,
Certainly.
getting back to 100%. I mean, none of us know what kind of shape he's in, but that's, you can somewhat assume he's probably going to be in football shape. He's able to practice and all that kind of stuff. So I think, Hollywood Brown was killing it this year. I just traded for him in a league, and
Bummer.
I seem to be the Grim Reaper of that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, he's going to be, other than Zach Ertz, he's going to be their top pass catcher, and not really particularly close. I don't think Robbie Anderson moves the needle at all for me in any sort of way. Somebody posted earlier on Twitter, like, you either love or you hate Robbie Anderson. And my response was, I nothing Robbie Anderson. I just nothing him right now. I don't think he's going to be fantasy relevant in Arizona. I'm keeping my eye on Rondale Moore, though. He was pretty heavily involved against the Seahawks. He seems to be fully back from his hamstring injury. It hasn't turned into a lot of fantasy points yet, but his trend as far as opportunity and involvement is pointing up. But the cloud over the top of all this is their offense is a mess.
Stinks. Yeah, it stinks.
It doesn't look like they know what they want to do.
Yep, I completely agree with you there, Scott. Rondale Moore's kind of playing that Curtis Samuel type role for the Cardinals. Nate, you touched on Robbie Anderson earlier in a column today for us. What can you tell us about Robbie Anderson that you don't like with the Cardinals? Because you would think that they need a deep threat right now, because that's where they can't push the ball. So why can't Robbie Anderson be that for the Cardinals, Nate?
So here's my biggest concern. It's his contested catch rate. It's 20%. It's 78th in the league right now. Minimum 14 targets. That's not good, especially for a guy who's now going into an offense with Kyler Murray, who is known to be slightly erratic as a quarterback. He's not the most accurate guy on the field. He can airmail stuff. And if Robbie Anderson's going to have to go after a ball and fight for a catch, it's not going to happen. 1 in 5 times he's going to make that play. Whereas you've got DeAndre Hopkins, Zach Ertz, Rondale Moore, who are used to doing this with Kyler Murray. I don't see Robbie Anderson adjusting. I don't think it was necessarily just Baker Mayfield. I just don't think Robbie Anderson's that good of a wide receiver anymore.
Okay. I'm fine with that. I don't really have much to add to that. Guys, I think I value Hopkins as, a mid-tier wide receiver too at this point. Robbie Anderson, if he's out there, I don't mind him as a bench stash. But they're going into Thursday night football this week, so I don't expect him to be out there if he is in a very limited capacity. Let's go to Washington. Taylor Heineke back under center for the Commanders. Carson Wentz is going to be out 4 to 6 weeks with a broken ring finger on his throwing hand. So is this a bump? Is this a neutral slide for Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, those boys up there in Washington? Or is this just same old with the Commanders? Curtis Samuel burned a lot of people this last week. Same with all these Commanders, really almost all season long. Is there hope, Scott? Is there any hope that Taylor Heineke can be that spark plug behind some type of rejuvenation in Washington, or is it just a total loss of a season in fantasy and in the NFL for him?
I don't really think he's going to come in and provide the spark. We went through this last year. He's had spike weeks. He's had some spike games where he plays well and, brings some fantasy relevance to his receivers around him. But I mean, it's a downgrade from Carson Wentz, however much we want to, the last 2 weeks, Carson Wentz has not played well, but regardless, no matter what you want to say about Carson Wentz, Taylor Heineke is a downgrade in my opinion for that entire offense. So I'm not necessarily just like it's a lost season, but the hopes I had for Samuel, McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, your boy, tempered at this point. Definitely tempered at this point.
Nate, do you have any hope for this? Because I am like Scott, like I'm waiting for these guys to have one big game and try to get out of them. I am very scared, especially with the whole dysfunction going on right now in Washington. Dan Snyder might not be an owner that much longer. How do you feel about this situation? I know you were kind of hot on him in your column earlier today.
So, being hot on a waiver wire at this point in the season, take that for what you will. I mean, but I do like Heineke. He was a starter for this team last year. 16 games. He finishes the overall QB 19.
Right.
He wasn't phenomenal. He's not a guy that you're racing out to plug him in a one QB league. But if you're in a super flex league and you had Carson Wentz, go out and get Taylor Heineke. If you have someone like, I'd probably start him at this point over Jared Goff, because I feel like there's at least a consistency you can get, unless you want to keep Goff on your bench and spot start Goff over him. Heineke's going to provide consistency, which is what you weren't getting out of Carson Wentz, and that's been the problem with him. It's not flashy, it's not sexy, but I think guys like Antonio Gibson might see a little bit of bump with him because they're going to go to a little bit of that shorter passing game again. And I still like Curtis Samuel. He's talented. And I think with a guy like Heineke, who is fairly consistent as a quarterback, he can thrive, maybe more than anybody else on this offense now with Heineke.
Okay. I'm a little worried about Samuel personally on my end, just because Carson Wentz is a great check down master. He's made players like Greg Ward, Nelson Aguilar kind of relevant in that type of role. So I'm a little bit worried that some of that, Bob Harris was on the show a couple weeks ago touting Samuel, saying that he is third in the league in touches. He's not now, but I'm a little worried that might change. Maybe they can get him involved in the run game again. Let's go to Green Bay. And it's not a huge note here, but Randall Cobb, he is going to miss 2 to 4 weeks with a high ankle sprain. I think this matters more not because you were playing Randall Cobb in your leagues consistently. It was because of Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers was leaning on Randall Cobb these last couple of weeks. This is just bad news for the Packers, guys. They were working out a couple undrafted free agent wide receivers this week just because of how dire the situation is. No Christian Watson right now. Sammy Watkins is injured. Go figure. And it's just all the way down the depth chart right now. Randall Cobb's gone. Maybe we see a little more Amari Rodgers because of this. But I'm just really worried that Aaron Rodgers' upside is sincerely capped this season. And I think he should be on waiver wires probably moving forward here. Nate, how do you feel about that?
Well, he's already QB 20, and it's only getting worse in Green Bay. They've looked progressively worse every week. Except for, obviously, week 1 against Minnesota when they just got laid out. This is a team and an offense that is confused. I'm starting to have questions about Matt LaFleur as a head coach. I'm starting to question his play calling and his decision-making. And I'm starting to question whether Aaron Rodgers still has it. He's not commanding the field the way he has in previous seasons. And part of that's obviously because of the wide receiver situation, but a true leader on a football field, it doesn't matter. Look at what Tom Brady did with guys like, Troy Brown, who played a combination of wide receiver and quarterback for some of those Super Bowl teams.
All right. Scott, do you feel any differently? Because I'm kind of out on Aaron Rodgers at this point.
Yeah,
with Nate.
I'm out. Obviously in Superflex, you got to keep him and likely roll him out there. But, he's definitely already hitting the waiver wires in shallow leagues. He was hitting those waiver wires last week. And in one of my home leagues, I needed a QB fill-in. I played Daniel Jones over Aaron Rodgers, and it worked out. As far as streaming goes, I saw him, and I obviously had that Aaron Rodgers is on waivers, but then I was like, wait a second, there's a reason for that. And I'm not really sure why they aren't trying to get the ball to Aaron Jones as much as humanly possible, but that's not really happening. Maybe it's just. The only people I'm starting, the only pass catchers I'm considering are Lazard and now I guess Tanyan. Tanyan had a big game volume wise this past week, and maybe that's where some of that's gonna that reliance on somebody he knows is gonna go. But overall, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look promising. Randall Cobb, his injury doesn't necessarily move the needle either one direction or the other for me that much. It was already looking like this. But you're right. You can only blame they lost Devontae Adams. That obviously is a big hit.
But they had the whole summer to prepare.
That doesn't excuse some of the play calls, some of the decision making without him. It just doesn't. So not looking so great in Green Bay. Meanwhile, Vikings are 5-1.
Yep. Washington, Buffalo, Detroit up next for the Packers. So you like the Detroit matchup, but they have to go through a Washington defense that is solid and Buffalo before that. So tough road ahead for Aaron Rodgers. You can drop him if you need to moving forward here. Guys, let's go ahead and jump into temperature check here. We're going to talk about buy lows and sell highs here. If you guys are new to the In Between Media Fantasy Football Podcast, please give us a like and a subscribe as we head into temperature check.
Temperature check.
That's really spicy. Holy shit.
So, Scott, you said it wasn't a great time for you to be a Mariners fan, and I completely understand that. At least you are in the city of Seattle, though, that does have now the sleeping giant Kenneth Walker in the backfield. Full send now. 12 for 91 and 1 on the ground for Mr. Kenneth Walker. Adds another 2 receptions for 13 yards. 19 PPR points. He's looked good in back-to-back weeks now. But he only has really 1+ matchup coming up here. He's got the Chargers, the Giants, the Cardinals, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the schedule for the next month. So not easy sledding for the rookie, but do we still have faith? That is the question here. Nate, want to start with you. What do you think on Kenneth Walker? I want to remove the Seattle bias here.
Good luck with that.
You're probably not going to hear anything much different from me than you hear from Scott. He looked fantastic against Arizona. I was very impressed. And yes, Arizona's defense, blah, 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 whatever you want to say about him, doesn't matter. He played well. He made big plays. He looked slippery. He was able to find the hole. He was breaking tackles. I think this is a guy you can almost play every week. Because this is a team that's good. They have to run the ball. They can't throw the ball 40 to 50 times a game with Geno Smith. That's not going to work. That's part of what has worked is their ability to run the ball. Kenneth Walker is the RB1. That's what they drafted him to be. Rashad Penny's done for the season. He's been forced into the role, like it or not. I think he's a reliable, probably RB2 rest of season. Wouldn't you say, Scott?
Yeah, that's where I have him. Yeah, I'm definitely holding Kenneth Walker. And yeah, I'm a Seahawks fan, so there's an extra bit of excitement. This particular draft pick, spending a second round pick on Kenneth Walker was trashed by many, and I still don't necessarily agree with it, but now it has happened and he is on the team. So I'm obviously going to be super thrilled when he shows out like he did against the Cardinals. Now the Cardinals are not a great defense, but I mean, he looked the part of a team's RB1. He was fast. He was slippery. He was powerful. He had some crazy little skip jump step on that touchdown run. That was pretty cool.
He is so fun to watch.
It's really fun.
I love watching Breece Hall, but Kenneth Walker might be even more fun to watch.
Dude, as far as all the speculation we've done about draft classes and all this, Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker at the top of this, it's going to be a fun combo, those two, for many, many years. I agree. I think, he's with the current fantasy landscape and bye weeks. Yeah, he's an every week start. I mean, he's a starting running back for a team, for an offense that is not just, they had one good game against the Falcons. Like, they've sustained some pretty fantasy relevant offense. Not consistent across the board. DK Metcalf kind of disappeared this past game, but that was more, NFC West games always just end up weird like that. Like, I really thought that game on paper should have been a bonanza. But anyway, I mean, I think, this is just the start for Walker. Unfortunately, it took the Penny injury to boost him to this place. But DJ Dallas, he'll get a little bit of work here and there. But I mean, this is Walker's backfield. He's going to get a ton of volume.
He saw 69% of snaps here in week 6, and that number is only going to go up. And guys, I really think Kenneth Walker is a league winner. So I'm normally someone does not recommend going out there and buying high. I know that is a strategy out there, but I think this is a time I would buy high for Kenneth Walker. I sent out some feelers earlier for him today. Couldn't get him. the people know what they have, I think, in him. So it's going to be hard to buy him high for a reasonable price. But if you can buy him high. If you have him already, congratulations. Hats off to you for drafting him or picking him up early, and ride this high, guys. Let's go ahead and move forward to another buy high candidate here. Brandon Ayuk He's been someone, Nate, we've highlighted a couple times on the Friday shows that we thought was gonna have a really big week, and he never really kind of popped off like we thought he was going to. However, it happened in week 6, boys. 8 for 11, or 8 of his 11 targets for 83 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 28.3 PPR points. So he was kind of a week winner here in week 6, but can this repeat? He's now wide receiver 25 on the season. The Chiefs and the Rams up next for young Ayuk, and then the bye week. So are we buying, or are we taking this as an opportunity to get out from under him?
I'm okay with buying him because
selling him. Sorry.
Oh. I mean, I'm not selling him, I don't think. I think because if he's going to be someone that Jimmy Garoppolo likes and trusts, this offense is finally finding its identity in San Francisco to a point. But I think part of it's Brandon Ayuk. I think it's what we saw at the end of last season. They started to get comfortable with each other. Once Ayuk got out of the doghouse, I feel like this is something that's going to trend up. And if you've got him on your roster, unless you have other needs, you need a high-end running back, you need a tight end, you need a quarterback because of injury, but you're solid at wide receiver, sell him because you're going to get a good return. But if you're solid everywhere else and he's one of your top 2 to 3 wide receivers, definitely just hold him because he's going to keep doing this.
I think my issue on Ayuk and maybe holding him is that I would be a little bit concerned that the 49ers game plan, Jimmy Garoppolo had over 40 attempts this week. That's not normal for them. So I think that number got a little bit inflated this week, and it's because their defense is kind of in shambles right now. No Nick Bosa. The secondary's banged up. I don't know the status on Tre'Davious Ward. I don't know how to say that first name. Excuse me. I'm sorry. But I'm not sure the status on him. But regardless, I'm worried that this defense is going to get healthier and they're going to go back to let's pound the ground with Jeff Wilson and let's win with defense. So I don't know. I'm taking it as an opportunity to buy high, Nate, but I understand what you're saying too. Like he's finally producing, so be happy with it. Scott, how do you feel about it?
I mean, I love to see it. Like I was a big Ayuk guy and got burned by him start of last season. So I love to see him succeed, even though I'm a Seahawks fan. I'm not buying high on him though. I think right now is probably the worst time to buy him just because he did have the 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, this is the time where people who don't believe are going to be trying to sell high. So, I mean, if you want to join that sell high, buy high, I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I'm not doing it because I don't know how consistent this is going to be. And Seth, you brought up a really good point. They were in a negative game script against the all of a sudden potent Atlanta Falcons.
I hate the fucking Falcons. I'm sorry,
dude. They scored 28 points on 14 pass attempts. What the hell's going on? Anyway,
they're the worst team to try to project. Like I just hate them. I'm done. I just can't.
So you didn't start Michael Pruitt?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Me neither. Yeah. So and the thing is, he does. Kansas City, LA. I mean, LA is still fantasy points allowed the best matchup for wide receivers. They have been all season. Seems weird to say. I always have to double check the numbers because I'm like, wait, the Rams? It's true. Right. So they've been a, I mean, he's a hold for me. I'm not necessarily trying to sell high because I think he could have some more spike weeks, but I'm also not trying to buy high because I don't trust consistency from him in that 49ers offense. If you have him, good. He was where he was going in drafts, he was a value. And now he's starting to show that.
Okay, fair enough, Scott. Let's round it out here just quickly. We already kind of touched on it, but Robert Tonyan, he goes 10 for 12 in this one. Sets a franchise Packers record. Ran a season high 63% of snaps. If I have Robert Tonyan, I think I am trying to move him just because I don't want a part of this Packers offense. I don't know how much you're going to get because I think most people are probably in my camp. Obviously, you're holding him. You're playing him if you have him, if you need a tight end, because most of us do at this point. But if I can somehow move him for something of a little more value, sustained value, I will do it. Nate, are you on board with me of that as well?
Oh, yeah, I'm selling Tonyan. Everywhere I have him. If I'm in a league with you, please send me an offer.
Yeah.
I will sell Tonyan. Cut bait on this. This offense is
I'm in a league with you, Nate, where I had Tonyan against you in tight end premium. In tight end premium, 1 full PPR extra. I looked at the score. He scored 29 points. Yeah, I mean, I would try to. I don't think you're going to get much based on this one game. I mean, Tanyan to me he's like the perfect, like, you've got 3 or 4 best ball tight ends on your bench. He's a great best ball tight end, but I just don't know. I don't know how much you're going to get for him. I'm the one league I have him in, it's actually a dynasty league, and I'm just really, really strapped at tight end. So he was like the only one available. So I've just been rolling with him. You know what I mean? But I just don't, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to trust, it's tough to trust any individual player within this Packers passing game.
I agree with you. And the funny thing about this game too, it's like the opposite of Robert Tonyan. A couple of years ago when he had his breakout in 2020, he had just around, I think, 55 receptions. He had 10 here. That's like 20% of what that 2020 season.
That year he had like 5 touchdowns per catch.
Insane. So if you guys can get something out of Robert Tonyan, go ahead and do that. If not, just keep riding him. Enjoy the highs. Couple questions here in the chat. First, we have Eric popping in from Green Screens Media. Good to see you tonight, Eric. Appreciate your support tonight. And we have Didi asking in the chat, do we have any merchandise yet for sale? Would love a t-shirt to support you and your channel. Didi, this is totally on me. We have merchandise. I just have not put it on the site yet. So I got to edit a couple of photos. I know. The season came quickly. We got
the shirts are stupid comfortable, by the way.
This one, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like the most comfortable shirt ever.
I completely agree. Those listening to the audio version of this show, Scott's wearing it, so he can definitely attest to it. But Didi, I will make sure we get those out soon, so you can get them if you guys want to get your spouses one, significant others, one for Christmas, a holiday coming up. We'll make sure we have those ready for the holidays. My apologies that the season came quick and slacked a little bit on that one, but we'll make sure we get those out to you guys soon.
Guys, they're great gifts for your grandparents, your cousins, nephews, your next door neighbor. Tell you what, if Seth can get them on the site, buy them and give them out for Halloween to trick or treaters.
Your league mates.
Send them to your league mates. Yeah.
There you go. All right, guys, let's go ahead and move forward here with some buy low candidates. Aaron Jones, another Packer, tops this list, guys. Who would have thought here? Goes 9 for 19 versus the Jets. Weird game script from them. My frisky Jets went into Lambeau, absolutely knocked the shit out of these Packers. 3 for 4 for Aaron Jones, 25 yards, but he's just not doing what we thought maybe he could do. The ceiling's not there right now. He's failed to reach 11 PPR points in 4 of 6 games. He hasn't scored any TDs outside of week 2. Like, that's the other thing too. He's been abysmal. And as we mentioned, the schedule is brutal coming up, guys. Washington, Buffalo, those are teams that I don't really want to play my running backs against. Detroit's awesome, but I don't know what we're going to get from him or A.J. Dillon in that one. I was wrong about A.J. Dillon. I thought maybe we could see these struggles from Aaron Jones, but I thought it would be more because A.J. Dillon was hogging up some work. They both stink. They're both not getting enough work, I think, is a lot of it too. The Packers' offensive line stinks. David Baccalari can't stay healthy, and it's just a mess here. I'm not buying low on Aaron Jones, if that's any indication. Nate, are you interested? This is a guy that's been a RB1 for a couple seasons in a row now.
I don't think I am. I don't have much Aaron Jones shares in fantasy across 26 leagues because I felt like this was coming. What I didn't see and what you said, Seth, was A.J. Dillon hasn't done anything. It's like that meme with the guy with the stick, like, do something.
Yeah.
Poke in the thing, do something. I think that's how everybody who drafted A.J. Dillon, where we got him, that's what we're thinking. But the thing is that they're in a position where they're needing to score points for 60 minutes. It's not, okay, so the first half, we put up 24 points and we're up 24-3. Now we can run the ball in the second half, which is where we saw A.J. Dillon holding value last season.
It's a very good point.
That's not happening this season. And with Aaron Jones, I don't know what's going on, but it's like him, maybe he needs to take some ayahuasca to get back in sync with Aaron Rodgers because there's something that's just not clicking there.
I mean, my thing is that he's only getting like 13, 14 touches a game, and that's just absurd for a guy of his talent. Like, I get A.J. Dillon's there, but A.J. Dillon isn't getting that many touches each game too. And like, it just doesn't make sense when you look around the league and you see Caleb Huntley getting 15 carries a game or Tyler Algier getting 15 touches a game. It's just absurd. So, Scott, any hope for Aaron Jones? Would you buy low on him right now? Because I think managers are god awfully peeved off with him outside of that week 2 performance.
Hold on one sec. The problem, my dog joined me. The problem is I would probably just on the off chance something clicks or, those spike weeks can win you your week. I might try because of that, but he's still Aaron Jones. I'm never going to be able to get him for what I'm willing to pay for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
You
he's
pay for
still,
the name.
I mean, week 2 wasn't that long ago, and most people are gonna be like, no, he's Aaron Jones. Like, I'm not giving him up for that, but like, I'm not willing to pay that much at this point because it just the situation. I mean, I still think he's a really talented running back. Like, that hasn't changed. I still think that about AJ Dillon too, but I just think the situation is just killing everybody's fantasy value in Green Bay. I mean, Dillon, he still has dominated the running back attempts this season. He passed Aaron Jones last year in that respect, just rush attempts, rush attempts. And I think he's around 12 or so a game. But neither are getting the work. And part of the reason for that is they're not playing with many leads.
Yep. I agree with you. Sounds like we're not interested in acquiring Aaron Jones for still what the face value is going to be because of the name. Let's move forward.
I will say real quick in Dynasty, AJ Dillon is somebody I would be trying to buy low on if somebody's taking this too seriously for the long-term view.
100% agree on that. James Robinson in Jacksonville. He's another prime buy low candidate, possibly 12 for 54, 1 reception this week though. This is 3 straight games, guys, under 10 PPR points for Robinson. Giants, Denver, Las Vegas, Kansas City, and then the bye for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Those aren't great matchups, boys. Those are not great matchups for James Robinson. And Nate, I think we have to hold ourselves accountable. A couple weeks ago when he was on that hot streak, he was one of the running backs we said to not sell high on. And I think we might have egg on our face because Travis Etienne's looking really good. And I mean, we even see Jermichael Hasty getting a little bit of work that he ripped off a gainer here this weekend. So with all that said, though, I think there's still some upside there in James Robinson that depending how your manager's feeling, I wouldn't mind sending out an offer depending what the price is. Nate, do you feel any different on that?
I do, because I think we're going to continue to see his usage dwindle and dwindle and dwindle. Doug Peterson is easing Etienne in, which is smart. And Doug Peterson's a smart coach. We should have seen this coming. That Robinson was going to be the bell cow to start the season. I don't think that Robinson plays in Jacksonville next season. I think they probably move him because Etienne has taken over the lead back role by end of season. At this point, I'm selling James Robinson if I can, if I have him rostered for whatever I can get for him. He's borderline not startable. I'm not saying he's droppable, but he's week to week, depending on most weeks, he's not going to be startable.
He's still getting around 13, 14 touches a game, I think is the only argument to maybe have some faith here. Maybe Jacksonville can get in some better game scripts as well. He hasn't popped off a big run here lately. But, Scott, do you have any confidence? I mean, that is 13, 14 touches a game that a running back's getting, which is hard to come by nowadays.
Yeah, I fall more in the boat where I'm not trying to acquire James Robinson. I don't think that 13 to 14 touches a game is not to be ignored, but I don't think it's going to stay there. I'll have an article coming out later this week for fantasy data. I've been showing the opportunity share trends over the course of the season. And I mean, Etienne and James Robinson are crossing right now. Last 2 games, Etienne's been right around 13 touches a game, but the difference is he's been over 100. He's been over 100 yards if you combine receiving and rushing yards in each game. The last 2 games, he's 10 for 71 yards rushing and 10 for 86. I mean, he's starting to show that explosive, dynamic ability he has. I don't think it's ever going to be Etienne getting 26 carries a game. I don't think Robinson goes completely away, but I think this sea change is happening, and I could be wrong, but that is the way the trend is looking. So I'm not interested in James Robinson right now. I think the window to sell high, it has passed.
I am interested in acquiring for a lower price. If I can get him, if the manager is panicking, just like as a running back depth piece, like I'm not going out and spending a crazy amount of capital on him. But if I have, maybe 2 good quarterbacks, and I can throw in like a low end wide receiver 3, low end wide receiver 4, maybe go after him, I would consider that. I just think there's going to be somewhat of a bounce back here in Jacksonville. After this stretch, it could get a little bit easier for them. But I understand where you guys are coming from. I think he's a depth running back and low end RB3 at this point. Let's move forward here quickly. CEH. Two straight performances for him under 7 PPR points. So not awesome to see that from CEH. San Francisco, a bye, Tennessee, and Jacksonville next on the slate for him. This is one we all kind of jumped and said he's the ultimate sell high candidate. Are we trying to buy now that the dip that we all thought was coming has came? Because Jarrett McKinnon is getting a lot of run. Pacheco's getting a lot of run.
Nate's raising his hand. He's in.
Do not buy CEH low. Don't do it. This is what he was destined for. This is an offense where Isaiah Pacheco was bound to take over. He's an electric, speedy playmaker with bust-out potential. The guy can break tackles. He can move across the field. CEH is irrelevant.
Wow.
Not irrelevant. He still has value if you play in a league where you have to start 4 running backs.
Scott, do you feel any better about CEH? It seems like a lot of people are kind of thinking that those 3 touchdowns earlier is what propped up his value so high. And if you didn't get out of him, then maybe you're feeling a little bit burnt right now. Got one called back last week too, so keep that in mind. But Scott, any thoughts on CEH here?
I don't think I'm quite as down as Nate, but I'm not. He's not a player I'm trying to buy low on. No, I don't necessarily think Isaiah Pacheco is gonna bust out and just be the primary back for the Chiefs, but they also have Jarrett McKinnon, and you just never really know where the ball is going to go when it comes to the Chiefs running backs. So,
Edwards-Helaire team, really.
Yeah, this is a wide receiver problem too. Yeah, Travis Kelce,
but Edwards-Helaire, I mean, he started off hot. Largely, I mean, you can't necessarily knock somebody because they scored touchdowns. We want our fantasy players to score touchdowns, but you have to recognize that when you look after 3 weeks and Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the RB5, that is because he scored a bunch of touchdowns and he's not going to continue to do that all year. So, I look at the stat line from this past game: 9 rushes for 33 yards, no targets. Like, that's just, again, that's also not going to be every single game, but
yeah,
I don't want to start somebody where that could be in my running back slot where that's a possibility, where that is, and it was 9 for 15 rushing yards the week before. So too volatile for me. I don't have any interest.
Let's round it out here with Mike Evans. 4 for 42 here against Pittsburgh's devastated secondary. Didn't have their top 3 cornerbacks in this. No Minkah Fitzpatrick. And right now it looks a little desolate for Mike Evans. 12 targets over the last 2 weeks to Chris Godwin's 18. Carolina, Baltimore, Los Angeles, Seattle, and a bye. So no secondaries that really scare you at all. Really plus matchups coming up from Mike Evans here. I am absolutely hammering down the buy low on Mike Evans if someone's panicking, because Mike Evans is going to get some touchdowns. He's not like Clyde Edwards-Helaire where you cannot predict him. He's got some positive regression coming, I think, in that area. I think Brady's going to get back on track here. I think the biggest issue has been the offensive line has not protected Brady to get the ball downfield lately to Evans, find him in the red zone when needed. So I am buying low on Mike Evans. I'm not going to go overpay for him because I do think there's still some issues to be solved here in Tampa Bay. Scott, are you joining me buying Mike Evans low, though?
Yes. Death, taxes, and if you ever have an opportunity to buy low on Mike Evans, you buy low on Mike Evans. Here's the deal with Mike Evans. He's had a couple of down games. He had a couple of smash games. That is Mike Evans. That's what Mike Evans does. Last year, he was a wide receiver 1 25% of the weeks. Whereas Cooper Kupp was a wide receiver 1 an ungodly like 90% of the weeks. Anyway, point being is that this is what he does. He goes quiet at times. It's the same thing. Basically, it's very similar with Gabriel Davis on the Bills.
Yes.
Very similar with Mike Williams on the Chargers. They're going to have big weeks. A lot of times that will involve a touchdown. but they will also have these off weeks. So this isn't some, for me, it's not some sign of Godwin's back, Brady's fallen off a bit, and Evans is just going to shit. That's not how I see it. I see it as, yes, if you can buy low on Mike Evans, buy low.
Nate, any further thoughts here on Mike Evans? Or are you with us to buy low on him as well?
Buy low with caution. Just remember that Tom Brady's 45 and he could be falling off a shelf, but we don't know for sure.
His offensive line sucks. I think that's part of it too. But yeah, I agree with you guys. Let's go ahead and get into some in the scope. Waiver wires are running here in just a little bit, so let's get people prepped for that.
I have the ciders in my sights.
Requesting permission to engage.
In the scope.
In the scope, who do you need off the waiver wires? And more importantly, who do you need to be getting tomorrow after waiver wires run so we can save you guys some fab, some free agent dollars? We're going to tell you that right now. And let's go through the mainstream pickups. And we're not going to spend too much time on these guys. It looks like if you need a quarterback this week, it's Daniel Jones, guys. He's rostered in 27.3% of ESPN leagues right now, and he was my in-the-scope candidate last week, so I picked him up in a lot of leagues. I held him because he has some really plus matchups coming up. I hope you tuned in for that one. I hope you read the article on the website. If you did, you saved a little bit of fab. Latavius Murray, Nate, you highlighted him a couple weeks ago in your column that Latavius could have a little more role, and you were adamant last week on the podcast to me about it, that you thought this could be a Latavius backfield, or at least have a part in it. And Melvin Gordon is ticked off, and I don't know what's going on there, but it looks like Latavius might have a big share of this backfield, Nate.
It does. I don't know nobody knows what Melvin Gordon did. It's a mystery. So, but Latavius Murray's getting the work, and that's all you need to know.
I don't think Melvin knows what he did.
Honestly. No, he said today he doesn't know.
Yeah.
He was asked by the press, and he says, your guess is as good as mine. So I guess it's Murray going forward.
He had a really sad interview after the game too. It was against the Chargers, his former team. So he was really bummed out about it and saw them lose in the way they did. And they could have used Melvin, and he said that. Kenyon Drake, 3.2% rostered here. J.K. Dobbins is injured. I don't really know the full extent of that as of now. But Kenyon Drake might be someone to roster short term. If you need someone short term these next couple of weeks, Gus will be back eventually. Justice Hill will be back. So Kenyon Drake might go by the wayside. Cam Akers could be on the team. We don't really know. But if you need someone to roster, keep him in mind. Nate, you highlighted him earlier in the year too. Might have been a little early, but you still put him on people's radar early. And then Alec Pierce, Scott. This was a guy you highlighted in week 1 for In the Scope as someone you liked as a potential season-long play. And Alec Pierce, he's come to play these last couple weeks, provided very serviceable fantasy numbers. He's beat me up in a couple leagues. I was playing against him, thinking, maybe he doesn't, regresses to the mean a little bit. Doesn't happen. He's available in over 75% of leagues. Are you pouncing on him, Scott, if he's still out there?
If he's still out there, yeah. I would say 10 shallower 10-team leagues, it's not necessarily as much of a slam dunk. But I mean, in most of my leagues, I already have him, because I was, you said I like him. So I have him everywhere. And he is turning into, this week particularly, a great bye week fill-in for the receivers who are on bye this week. But yeah, I think, unfortunately, Ashton Dolan was put on IR. Even Paris Campbell had a nice little game for himself. Another player I've been rooting for to succeed for years, it seems. But Matt Ryan threw it almost 60 times. So, I don't know if this is when Jonathan Taylor comes back. I don't know if this type of game script will play out, but he's involved. I think he has solidified himself as that wide receiver 2 next to Michael Pittman. And that was why I liked him, because I thought he could take that. So yeah, I think if he's there, grab him.
Okay. And we have a question here in the chat from Albert. Should we be dropping Deion Jackson? Deion Jackson had the very big game here against the Colts, and he was someone I was surprised that people weren't grabbing off of waivers last week. I got him for free off free agency the day after. Right now, Albert, the severity of the injury is unknown, so I would be keeping him through this waiver run if I can afford it. If I have to drop him, I guess I will drop him. Jonathan Taylor, though, might be back here in the next week or two, but I think Deion Jackson has earned some type of role in this backfield. They're going to want to keep Taylor fresh now that they do have some type of shot at the playoffs, at the postseason there. So I'm not dropping Deion Jackson. I don't think you guys are either, unless I have to right now.
No, because I mean that was the. I agree. I couldn't believe he was still available in a few leagues, especially when Nyheim Hines was ruled out. When Hines and Taylor were ruled out, I mean Deion Jackson should have been scooped up on every single. And I mean he balled out too. So I mean even with Taylor back, I mean he showed he can catch passes as a running back. So I mean it could be Nyheim Hines' role that's in jeopardy. So if I was able to pick him up, unless I just have to replace that bench spot with something else, I'm keeping him.
Rondale Moore, folks, over for the Arizona Cardinals. We kind of talked about him a little bit already, so I won't touch on him, but he's someone that should be on your fantasy rosters if you need a wide receiver. And then down at 0.6% rostered, a guy Nate called out last week as his in the scope candidate. I love to see it when it happened. Tyquan Thornton came out for the New England Patriots and had a very explosive game, 2 touchdowns. Nate, you crushed on this one, my friend. Take a bow.
Nice call. Tyquan, Debo,
20
Samuel,
PPR
Thornton.
points.
Yes.
Yep. Wide receiver 8 on the week. Look, this is just going to continue. You know why it's going to continue? Because he profiles like Julian Edelman and Wes Welker. And those are guys that, regardless of quarterback, Bill Belichick loves. He loves that sneaky slot guy that can sneak in between, but can get deep as well, which is what Tyquan does well. That's why they took him in the second round. People thought they were crazy for drafting him that early. They needed this type of receiver for this offense. They didn't have it.
He's making a difference. The New England offense with him and Bailey zip the ball in there. Zappy have been great lately. So we hope to see that continue. Let's get into the meat of this segment, though, and the in the scope targets. This is where we make our bread and butter, boys. This is why people come to this show, I think, every week, is to hear this. How can you get ahead on your league mates? Before we jump in there, we do have a quick question. I do want to address this from Nick. First time seeing Nick in the chat. What's up, Nick? Hope you're having a great Tuesday evening. Thanks
Nick.
for making us a part of it. Pick 2, DJ Moore, Thornton, or Alec Pierce. Nick, are these to start or to roster? I think either way.
Try to start.
Okay, to start.
Nick's going to make us say it, isn't he?
I'm absolutely benching DJ Moore. You can't play DJ Moore.
Oh, no. It's not even a question, right?
Yeah, no, I'm not playing DJ Moore until something changes in Carolina.
Yeah, I agree. Until Ben McAdoo's out of the picture there, Nick, I don't think you can play DJ Moore. Thornton has more upside.
What a freaking world, though, that we're getting this question and answering the way we are, right?
2 rookie wide receivers, week 6. Oh, he's saying to roster here. He's saying to roster.
Oh, to roster. Okay.
Oh, same answer.
No. This is the only reason I'm going to say don't drop DJ Moore yet is because he could get traded in the next couple weeks. There is a chance maybe he doesn't, but I would like DJ Moore on another team, and I despise DJ Moore. He's against the brand here, but if he goes to another good situation, maybe the Packers, another team that needs wide receiver help, Baltimore, I would be interested in him, Nick. So I'd keep DJ Moore. At this point, don't pick up Thornton, I guess, because he still might be there next week too.
That's what I was going to say. It depends on the size of the league, but Thornton, I probably wouldn't. And if anything, I mean, even DJ Moore still has some name value to where you might be able to trade him for something.
That's a fair point.
I saw him traded.
Package him for some sort of 2-for-1, then pick up Thornton. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like that idea right there. Nick, thanks for the question, man. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Hope you subscribe and come back to the channel here when you need some feel-good lifestyle advice and some fantasy sports advice. Let's talk some in the scope targets, though. Again, these are the guys you can pick up after waivers run tomorrow, or spend a very little amount of fab tonight on these players. And Scott, why don't you kick it off for us here, friend?
Well, I see in the chat, I'm going to be answering Albert's question. So my in the scope player this week is New York Giants, Wan'Dale Robinson. He is somebody that could, I don't know if he's still going to be available after waivers run. He scored a touchdown. He's a rookie who scored a touchdown. And a lot of times when people are looking at waivers, they look at that score from the previous week and he might be appealing. But he's like on ESPN, he's like a 6.6% rostership right now. So it's way down there. He's just coming back from the knee injury that, it was his first game of the season, first game of his career. 4 catches, I think it was 4 targets, 37 yards and a touchdown. So not, it wasn't some, break the bank type of game. But, I just think he had a stellar rookie, a receiving profile in college, just hit all the marks. much like Rondale Moore, it's his size that a lot of people, knocked him for. He's not very tall. He's not very big. But I think he's going to thrive. I mean, the Giants, another surprise team this year. Another team that's 5-1. Daniel Jones has been playing pretty good. Kadarius Toney, I don't know if maybe all his limbs just fell off or something. I'm not really sure. But I'm replacing, because I loved Kadarius Toney coming into this year. I'm replacing that now, and I'm going to shift it over to Wan'Dale Robinson because I think he's a good pickup right now. I don't think he's going to be on waivers for much longer.
Yeah, I'm with you here, Scott. The only thing I'm a little hesitant about is last week. I don't remember. Maybe it was Nate. Maybe it was your column. You highlighted Darius Slayton, and it's just a game of musical chairs with these Giants wide receivers. The matchups are better, as we've kind of talked about with Danny Dimes here coming up. So I think if you need a play coming up, it's not a bad one. I just worry about the longevity
part of my beat the waiver wire aspect here is it has been that way up until now with the Giants, but I think Wan'Dale is a talented receiver, and it's not going to stay that way. He's going to become a focal point.
Yeah, I'm with Scott on this.
They haven't had a good enough. And I mean, Shepard was going to be that guy, and then unfortunately he got hurt. Toney hasn't seen the field. Slayton had, he's missed a few games. So I mean, it's in Richie James had 15 minutes of fame, and now he's gone. But they haven't had the resource to be able to not play musical chairs, and now I think they do.
You're 100% right there, Scott. I appreciate that call there. We got Dee here in the chat welcoming Nick to the channel. Nick, welcome to the IBT family, man. We have the best between Dee, Albert, everyone who watches on a consistent basis, man. We do have the best family. So, guys, welcome into the channel. We hope you subscribe, hang around with us for that feel-good lifestyle advice and your fantasy sports dose as well. Nate, why don't you take it home for us with your In the Scope candidate? And I say this because I know it's one of your hometown friends here.
It is, sir. And I think you made fun of, was it last week or the week before, I'm all about tight ends. Why do I love tight ends so much? And I'll tell you why. Because this is the most difficult position to roster and start and grade in fantasy football if you're not playing IDP.
It's true.
The landscape is horrible. If you missed out on Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews, you're probably streaming tight ends. And I think I said the same thing last week. So this week, we had a new emergence, something I'm very excited about for my hometown Broncos, Mr. Greg Dulcich out of UCLA. They liked him so much that they took him in the third round when they already had Albert Okwuegbunam and at the time Noah Fant. They had not made the Russell Wilson trade yet. And they made Albert Okwuegbunam inactive on Monday. They handed it to Dulcich. 4 targets, 3 catches. I think he had 37-ish yards, 44 yards. But he had that dramatic first quarter touchdown where he was wide open and he stomped down the field. I put out an all caps tweet, excited about it. He saw a 71% snap share in his NFL debut, guys. 71%.
That's an awesome number. I agree, Nate. I was compelled.
That's a big deal for an offense that is struggling to find its identity right now. If this team is going to get it figured out, they're going to need to do it through different means. One of those is Dulcich, who is an incredibly talented tight end that presents a lot of matchup problems for defenses. And we know he can handle volume because he did it at UCLA in his senior season last year. The injury was concerning to start the career, but he looked 100% healthy to me. He's rostered in 0.6% of ESPN leagues, so he's available in your league, guys. He is available in your league, and if you're looking for a solid tight end option, I mean, he's a matchup nightmare, and I think it's something that Russ will exploit.
We have Eric in the chat saying, question, why do all the Broncos tight ends look the same? Is that why Alberto got benched? And I will give this one to Eric, man. They are hard to tell between him and is Andrew Beck a wide receiver or a tight end? I don't know what he plays specifically, but
I'm pretty sure he's a tight end.
Okay. I can never tell, but yeah, good to see that call from you, Nate. I thought of you when he scored because I know we had talked about him before, and yeah, he's an exciting player, and the Broncos obviously like him enough to inactivate Alberto and activate him and give him 70+% of the snaps. So liking Greg Dulcich. I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of the top pickups here next week, Nate. I'll round us out then, guys, with Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to be my target. And normally we do this in a way to kind of give you almost a stash maybe for a week coming up. But this is a guy I think you can pick up off of free agency tomorrow after waivers run and play him this week initially if you need a play. The Vikings, the Rams, a lot of fantasy-friendly teams, Bills, are on bye this week. So you're going to need wide receivers. No Gabe Davis, no Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. If you have one of those players, you need a spot start here. DPJ is interesting. It's not a super sexy play, but he has scored 9 PPR points in 4 of 6 games here. He is top 36 amongst wide receiver in target share, top 25 in snap share. So he's seeing the field, he's getting the targets, and he's top 12 in contested catch rate as well. So he's making the most of those hard to catch opportunities. And I'm liking what he's doing. Like the Browns game plan, when they can stick to it, is kind of appealing. It's handed off to Nick Chubb. Let's hit a bootleg down the field for 25 to DPJ or Amari Cooper. Right now, I mean, again, it's not incredible, but he has a 10.7 expected fantasy points per game total, meaning there should be some positive regression coming. He should get in the end zone here soon. So I like him this week against the Ravens, guys. Third best matchups for fantasy wide receivers. I'm expecting those big plays off the bootlegs. I think one comes to fruition against this Ravens secondary that can't stop the big play. So, guys, I'm in on DPJ. I most highlighted him last week. That's how much I liked him. And I've been riding with him as my wide receiver 2 in Scott Fishbowl for a couple weeks. So I like me some DPJ.
I like him too. His boom potential is fantastic, and you can almost see the weeks when it's going to happen. Like Carolina's got a not awful secondary, but middle of the road that you can exploit on the deep ball. He had 10 points. Atlanta secondary, not great, 10 points. New England secondary, much better, still had 11 points. So I think this is a guy, Seth, he's a great, you can get him for nothing, great spot start, and who knows when Deshaun Watson comes back, I mean, that deep ball becomes more prevalent in that offense almost de facto at that point.
Muted, Scott.
Sorry about that. I like the call too. Cleveland, you know, you look at the overall season and just with their record, it just seems like same old Cleveland. But I mean, and they just give it to Nick Chubb, but they've scored over 24 points a game. They pass it about 35 times a game. Like there's offense happening in Cleveland. It just might not be pretty. And so I think that runs, through the air. That's going to run through Cooper, Peoples-Jones, and Njoku. And that's, with some Kareem Hunt sprinkled in.
Right.
And then, I mean, say what you want about it, Sean Watson, but he's coming back and all the entire offense's stock is going to rise at that time. It's still a little ways away. But I think Peoples-Jones is probably one of those guys you could let waivers run and grab or just put a few bucks out. I don't think you need to do much more than that.
Agreed.
But yeah, and I mean, he provides exactly what we've been talking about. I mean, he's not going to go out there and be a wide receiver 1, but he's going to have some boom weeks for you.
Certainly agreed with you guys. Let's get to this question here in the chat from Babjap. What's up, Babjap? Welcome to the IBT family. Appreciate you tuning in today. Said, I just traded Darren Waller, tight end, for Darrell Henderson Jr. Did I win this trade? Haven't been impressed overall with Waller. He's in a competitive league with some extended family through ESPN. Well, awesome that you and your family are getting together. Love the ESPN app as always on there. I think it depends what you needed. I don't think there's a winner or a loser to this trade. Darren Waller could come out the second half of the season and start lighting it up like we thought he was going to earlier in the season. I still think Adams is going to be the primary target, so Waller is not going to be what he was the last couple of years. Henderson Jr. is Henderson Jr. He's not a flashy running back, but at this point without Cam Akers, he's a solid play. So I don't think there's a winner or a loser. If you needed a running back and you have another option at tight end, I don't hate it. Do you boys have any thoughts on this trade here for Babjap?
I would say, I mean, I kind of agree. Like, as far as where both these players are right now, if you needed an RB, if you needed some RB help and you have another option at tight end, I think it's a pretty fair trade. I mean, at the start of the season, obviously it would not have seemed very fair, Waller's side, but he has not done much outside of one game. And now the whole thing with Cam Akers, it's not clear exactly what the Rams are going to be doing, but chances are Henderson is going to be seeing quite a bit of work. So, I think it's a fair trade.
Nate, you in on that too?
Yep. You guys said everything I would have said.
Yeah, I would honestly like rest of season if we were redrafting right now. I think they'd go in a similar range. So yeah, no harm, no foul there, Bapchap. Do what you got to do to make your team better. And as Josh Fuster told us on Friday, Nate, trading makes fantasy fun. So keep that in mind.
I traded for Hollywood last week.
Okay, that's the one time trading does not make fantasy fun. We appreciate your question, Bapchap. Hope you subscribe and come back to the channel. Guys, let's round it out here with a fun segment we haven't done in a long time, but it's the old classic game of Would You Rather.
Risky business or that fair say. Are you that hard on the rise? We're chilling with a cold one. Feeling bold one or hold back. Would you rather? This ain't no simple matter.
What's up, guys? All right, we are back here for some Would You Rather. Today, we got our audio host, Kyle Elliott, in the front end today to lead this debate. Kyle, how you doing this evening, man? You bringing the fire tonight?
Oh, well, you can just call me Diggable Planets because it's good to be here, Jim. I'm happy to be here in front of the camera doing something for once. It's going to be fun.
Let's go, man. Excited.
Dude, I love the shout out to the mid-90s hip-hop, man. I love it.
That's all I
love
know.
it.
And the sweatshirt. I also love the sweatshirt, by the way.
Well, obviously, Scott.
Well,
So, guys, tonight we're going to be doing a fall delicacy debate. We're going to kind of talk about different stuff about the fall season we like, we don't like. If you guys have any thoughts, any feedback on this segment, like let us know what you think. I see Dee Dee in the chat. I know she's a great cook, so some of it will be drink talk. Some of it will be different fall activity talk. So let us know in the chat what's going on, what you guys think. Kyle, why don't you kick us off? You are now the host, and we are just your answer machines here.
All right. Well, the first question is, would you rather get rid of pumpkin-infused drinks or apple-infused drinks? Now, personally, I think pumpkin spice makes everything nice, but there's nothing wrong with a nice apple cider every once in a while.
Whew, okay. So, boys, we got to throw out the options first. Like when we're thinking pumpkin-infused drinks, we got pumpkin beers, we got pumpkin lattes. Is there another pumpkin drink I'm missing here?
There shouldn't be. There shouldn't be any.
Okay.
No, I think that's about it. I mean, I think on the alcoholic side, you have the pumpkin beer. On the non-alcoholic side, you have the pumpkin spice lattes.
And then on the apples, we're getting ciders, we're getting Busch Light apples, any of that other stuff kind of. I think that all kind of some of those fall mixed drinks that people make with the apple drinks as well. So
give me apple. Give me all of the apple. And give me none of the pumpkin.
Okay, so you would get rid of pumpkin.
Get rid of pumpkin. Oh,
yes.
Okay. Dee Dee, Eric in the chat, they're agreeing with you guys. Dee Dee saying throw that pumpkin out.
Yeah, for me, I mean, alcohol is not part of my life, so it makes it a little bit easier for me. I would much rather have some nice apple cider than a pumpkin latte. I'll tell you that. I will say this time of year, I do like putting some nice organic, fresh eggnog in my coffee. I'm fine with that here and there, but pumpkin, no, thank you. No, thanks.
Okay. I like a pumpkin beer. Don't get me wrong, but pumpkin beers are some of those beers that like you have 3 or 4 and you're almost like too tuned up. Like I've gotten too tuned up off pumpkin beer. Kyle, you can attest to that from our college days, buddy.
Does Seth get too tuned up?
No, never. Watch your holiday.
Scott, were you at the expo or not?
Yeah,
I was. Did you already forget I was there?
No, I remembered.
Yeah, a couple more weeks, guys. We'll have our holiday stream around Christmas time, so you guys can see me get a little tuned up on camera with you.
Coming so fast.
I agree with you guys, though. I like the pumpkin beers, but I can't live without the Busch Light apples. They are going to be going away soon, so I will be sad of that. But apple cider, love all that stuff as well. Kyle, why don't we go ahead and move forward here? It looks like the consensus from the IBT family, from us here on the show, is get rid of the pumpkin beers and other drinks.
I'd honestly have to agree. I think pumpkin beer is disgusting. So
Me too.
our next would you rather is going to be more football oriented. Would you rather have Tua or Dak rest the season? Now, for refresher, Dak Prescott broke his thumb, and Tua has a skull full of brain soup. So,
Very
personally, I
nicely
would go
put.
with Dak.
Very well put there, Kyle. Nate, I'll let you take this one first, my friend.
I like Tua's upside. If his brain unsoups itself, I think he has far higher upside. If it doesn't unsoup itself, I mean, Dak Prescott's obviously the answer here, but for me, it's Tua.
Yeah, I mean, I think, God, what a weird season it is. If they're both healthy, I'm probably rolling with Tua. Real quick, speaking of Dak Prescott, check your waivers in case somebody dropped him a while back. I'm in one of my home leagues, somebody did, and I didn't even notice it till today, and he's sitting there. So just check.
Yep.
Sometimes people do that. But Tua is my answer.
I'm in consensus with you guys. Dede is as well. Tua, it's just the upside. It's more wide receivers that can create explosive plays between Waddle, Gesicki, and Tyreek Hill. The Cowboys offense hasn't been super inspiring with Cooper Rush. And Dax is an injury that could, like, obviously Tua's could linger, and if he gets hit one more time, he's probably done for the season. However, Dax is something that could actually affect his throwing when he comes back. So I'm definitely with you there. Kyle, any thoughts on this?
I gave my thoughts, and you probably don't really want my input anyway.
Okay. Kyle's saying hashtag non-analyst. He's not trying to get any mean DMs this week for telling people to pick up Dak. I love it, Kyle. Let's move forward.
The receipts, Twitter.
Yeah.
So back to fall being fun. Would you guys rather get rid of Halloween parties, Thanksgiving dinner, or football tailgates?
What?
That's a tough one.
Oh.
Nate, you're
Is
muted.
Nate muted, or is he just really good at doing that?
I'm going to go with Halloween parties just to get it out there because nothing good comes from an adult Halloween party.
I agree on that one, Nate. I agree, Kyle. I know you get tuned up at Halloween parties too. You know that, my friend.
Yes, I do. Yes,
my pumpkin beer is your Halloween party, my friend. Dede in the chat saying Thanksgiving dinner. I like Thanksgiving. I don't get to see my family a ton, so I kind of like getting back with them, having a whole day of football, food, all that good stuff. I'm with Nate on this. I'm getting rid of Halloween parties. I love my tailgates too much. Love Thanksgiving dinner. Halloween's fun and all, but I like the idea of Halloween and the season of Halloween more than actually getting dressed up, going to a party.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I fall on this. Like, if we're talking which holiday do I like better? Like, I'm a Halloween guy. Like, our kids are super into Halloween. I love Halloween. I love what time of year it is, right in the middle of the football season. And I mean, Thanksgiving dinner is delicious because it's a lot of food, but like, relatively speaking, compared to other foods that are out there, it's not my favorite foods. It's just the foods you make. But if we're talking specifically a Halloween party, yeah, I'm going to choose to get rid of that. Halloween in general, though, I love.
Agreed. Love the season. Love spooky season. Kyle, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I would personally get rid of Thanksgiving dinner. I think Halloween parties are fun. I think it's a lot of fun, as you know. But tailgates, I mean, I know some Detroit Lions fans would rather be going to a football tailgate than a Thanksgiving dinner.
Certainly.
Well, that's fair.
It's true. They always play on Thanksgiving.
Is kind of disappointing because it's just Christmas dinner, but not as good.
Okay. We got Dede in the chat.
That's a good point right there.
Yeah,
If you're the one cooking Thanksgiving dinner, you probably have a different answer here.
Yes, and Dede's saying for the audio listeners, I'm just cooking for days, LOL, and love Halloween. And that's like the truth. Like, even Katie's mom takes off like 1 or 2 days before Thanksgiving, like takes her hard-earned PTO days to literally get this prep. So I think there's a lot of stress that comes with Thanksgiving. So I completely understand why anyone would want to do away with that. Certainly.
It's a good question, though.
Yeah.
All
Round
right.
us out, Kyle.
Finally. Final question is, would you rather do a cringy couples costume or go bobbing for apples? That is...
Yeah.
These are two options.
I have never bobbed for apples.
Are you serious?
In my entire life.
Wow.
No, I don't think maybe I have. I think bobbing for apples, that's like you do it and then it's over. The cringy couples costume is like the whole night. It would depend on the cringy couples costume. Like my wife and I have dressed up different like funny things from movies. Like, have you guys seen Super Troopers?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember when they meet in the bar disguised as bikers, and one comes as like a bicycle racer and one comes as like a Harley? We went as that one year. Me in full on spandex, her with like frizzy hair and Harley Davidson. That kind of shit is fun. But as far as cringy, I probably would bob for apples because it's done. You're done.
Okay.
I'm not bobbing for anything. I am not biting an apple in a tub that other people have been trying to bite.
Only if I get to go first.
Yes.
I have done some cringy and wildly inappropriate couples costumes in the past. It was fun. I don't care that there are pictures. I'm going couples costume all day, man.
Nate, what are some of the cringy ones, or just some of the ones you and Jen have done?
I want to.
We did one year. We phoned it in and we bought Coors Original and Coors Light T-shirts, and then bought these hats that were just beer mugs.
Okay, that's simple enough. You said inappropriate though.
You said wildly.
Yeah, I'm not
wildly inappropriate.
Yeah, you did say wildly inappropriate.
I want to hear those ones.
I did one with an ex that was I was a priest and she was an altar boy.
Oh, good Lord.
Okay.
See, I told you I didn't want to bring it up on the show.
Well, that's you really didn't take much arm twisting for you to say it.
The IBT family needed to hear that one. I'm with you guys. I've never done like a super cringy Halloween costume with Katie. A couple one. We've done Peter and Gwen Stacy from Spider-Man. We've done half of the Scooby-Doo gang. I think I was Shaggy and she was Velma. But other than that, we haven't really done too many cringy ones. But I think the cringe is kind of part of the fun of it in a way. Like I'm all right with it. Mm-hmm. I'm with Nate. Like I don't want to like dunk my head in like.
Yeah, I'm changing my answer, but for the record, I just pictured dunking my head into a, tub full of half spit, half water, half apple pieces.
Exactly. That's disgusting. I don't like apples that much.
I embrace cringiness, honestly. Like
I know. I know.
You know what I mean? Like, so I don't really know where I came from with that original answer. So I'm changing it.
I want to force people to laugh at me very uncomfortably on Halloween. If you're going to make me come to a party.
I went as a literal dumpster fire one year. Like I got a waste management sticker on the fake dumpster, and then fire. It was great.
Oh, I thought you were just Najee Harris. I thought you just put a jersey on Najee Harris.
Washington Commanders logo.
Have you bobbed for apples, Nate, before?
If I bought what now?
Have you bobbed for apples before?
Not since I was a kid.
Okay,
like 8, 9 years old.
Kyle, any bobbing or thoughts on bobbing?
I think the only time I've ever seen bobbing for apples is in like Charlie Brown.
Yeah, that's what comes to my mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do think cringy couples costumes is the reason for the season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Costume, it's going to be cringy no matter what, in my opinion. So.
Yeah. Well, guys, I absolutely agree with you. I want to shout out everyone who tuned into the chat tonight. Dee Dee, Albert, all the new faces we saw in the chat. It means a lot to have so many people turn out each week and supporting us. It's a lot of fun being here with each and every one of you. Kyle, we appreciate your audio editing. Nate, Scott. I appreciate all you guys do here on camera, all the stuff you guys do off camera, all the research, all the thought that goes into this show behind the scenes. So I appreciate that as well. Nate, you and I will be back on Friday for our Friday show. Huge show. We got Mike Stoyanov from Blossom, The Dark Knight. He's back on the show with us again for Start Sits. And we have Andrew Erickson from the Fantasy Pros Football Podcast as well. He's going to be on with us for Sure Thing Sleepers of the Week. So really big podcast coming up on Friday, but this one was no short of fun in its own. Good luck on waivers tonight. Good luck on free agency tomorrow. Keep getting ahead of your leagues. We appreciate everyone for tuning in, and we'll be back in just a short while. Until then, guys, keep it in between.
Your destination for both some feel-good lifestyle advice and some fantasy football advice.